All right, our buddy Dusty Dvoracek joins us every Tuesday and Wednesday for the 10 o'clock hour. What's going on, Dusty? How was your weekend?
What up, Plank? My weekend was just swell. Now, so is that song, doesn't it say "No More, Mr. Nice Guy"?
Yes.
Is Josh bringing me in? Am I supposed to? You know what I mean?
Well, let's start with the nice guy. Did I see on Twitter correctly that your boy took one to the house this weekend to win the game?
Well, yes. Well, no, I mean, yes and no.
Okay.
That was we do wows and pows in my house, Plank. We do them on my show on Mondays. So for the weekend, there was some wows and pows.
Okay.
Let's start with the wows. We can end with the pows. So wows are something that make you wow, like the most exciting part of your day or weekend in this sense. And pow, obviously, like a gut punch. Pow. Oh, man, that stinks.
Yeah, I know where that's going.
Yeah, so wows, Neyland Stadium was incredible. Got a chance to see a couple of my good friends, Josh Heupel and Jeff Levy, head coaches at Tennessee and Mississippi State. We had that game at night, so that was great. Just, love seeing those guys, chatting with them. Always rooting for both of those two coaches. And
can I interject just real quick a question?
Yeah, please.
When you talk to them, they're so focused on what they're doing, but is it ever, hey, man, how's things going at Oklahoma? Do they care? Do they check in, or are they just in their own world?
I definitely, it's my second time to have Mississippi State. Jeff has definitely asked about Oklahoma.
Okay, good.
Josh, I did not ask him. We did not chat about that, honestly. More about how's your family.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, sorry.
What's going on.
I just was curious about that.
I feel free to ask. So the overall environment experience there in Knoxville was incredible. I would definitely recommend Sooners fans, if they get the chance next year, to go to Knoxville. They obviously know they were there. I'm sure a lot of Sooners fans were there in 2015, which was incredible. It's changed drastically since then. They have the introduction, the entrance, and the way those things kick off, especially at night, is off the charts. So I give that was a wow, just that overall experience, and Neyland at night is very special. And then as I'm doing the game up in the booth, my son has got their Super Bowl. They had their big Super Bowl.
Ooh. And
my wife was sending me some videos, like right as the game is beginning, and he had a chase. So there was a play they're on defense, and a play breaks out, and the team they're playing, they're up 6-0. Hudson actually had scored a touchdown, and they're up 6-0, and then they're on defense, and they had a big running back, really big kid, good player for him. He breaks out, and he busts a long run, and he's out in front of the defense, probably out 7-8 yards, and Hudson hawks him down, and he runs him down, and it's a really cool play.
Oh, okay, I looked at it.
All-time effort play, and he runs him down. He tackles him at the 4. Interestingly enough, the defense gets a stop. They pick it off, so they keep him from scoring. And then as soon as they get on offense, he catches a 94-yard touchdown catch.
Nice.
So they went from potentially being down in their Super Bowl to then having a 14-0 lead, and they kind of ran away with it from there. So it was early in the game, but he had about a 3-play sequence that was pretty cool, pretty special.
That's awesome.
And they completed their undefeated season and won the little Super Bowl. So they're all fired up. So that was a couple of my wows from the weekend. Pals would include watching whatever the Dallas Cowboys have become. I don't even know. Don't even get me started on that. And then after my game was over, and of course Matt Berry was keeping me up to date with what was going on with the Sooners game, but my game was over, and there was about 5-6 minutes left in the Oklahoma-Missouri game. So I had just enough time to take a golf cart ride from Neyland Stadium to my hotel and watch the end of Oklahoma-Missouri.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think, like a lot of Sooners fans, that was a pretty big pow, the way those final, really, let's just call it the final 2 minutes and change of that football game transpired. Because when Oklahoma got the scoop and score touchdown, I mean, there was fist pumps going on, and then obviously you credit Missouri. They go on that drive, and Theo Weiss, actually happy for him. He's a great young man, and that had to be a special moment for him. And then I thought at the least once that happened, it's going to overtime.
Right.
And then, of course, that's not going to happen because, as was the case all night, Oklahoma just fumbled the game away, and a scoop and score touchdown led to a text message at about 12:45 a.m. from one Eli Drinkwitz, rubbing it in even more so. So as if it wasn't bad enough to watch the way that game ended, I got a nice message from Coach Drink reminding me that I picked Oklahoma to win. And apparently, he came on my show yesterday. He used that as Thursday motivation. Not is it bad enough that I got my alma mater loses, my pick is wrong, but he's playing that for his team last Thursday as motivation for the game. So, not awesome, but that's a tough one, Plank. I got to be honest, man. I was, and I said it to you last week, and I believe it. I was the most confident I was for Oklahoma. I
agree.
thought Brady Cook not playing was a significant factor. I thought that was reflective in the point spread with Oklahoma being close to a field goal favorite, and they're in position to win that game. And they lose. They've been blown out this year. I mean, the South Carolina game, that sure felt like rock bottom. And the way and the manner in which that happened, going down 21-0 first 5 minutes at home, that was like deflating.
Yeah.
But I really thought the other night might have been a new low because it was a golden opportunity right there in your grasp, in your fingertips, and you get Missouri to a 3rd and 16 situation, and you can't get a stop. You can't get off the field. And for the most part, the defense played well. But when that game was won, and they allowed Missouri to make the plays late and ultimately get the victory. So that one was really tough, man. I thought that was reflected on Coach Venables' face after the game.
What's the biggest alarming part of it for you?
I mean, that's a good question.
It's a good question, Josh. All of it.
What isn't? What I mean, I think. Big picture. What's the most alarming part? Like, you're gonna have to overcome some serious odds that are stacked up against you to make a bowl game and to not be the team that snaps a bowl streak that goes back to 1998. I mean, that's alarming, right? I mean, it's just the truth. Like, not making a bowl game, and if you go have one win in conference play, albeit as a tough schedule, that's alarming. That's scary. It makes me nervous just about big picture, long term. What was alarming about the other night, I think it's pretty clear the offense was alarming. The Jackson Arnold, I mean, he struggled and struggled mightily. 74 yards passing on 24 attempts. And then even some of those, and you go back and watch it, I mean, just getting out of the pocket before you need to, the lack of ball security. I mean, that last fumble, I mean, no one's open. You're going to check it down? We're going to fight for a check down that spot? Like, you think that you're thinking situation, and I got to be honest, like, there was part of me that was even wondering, why are we even throwing right here?
Right.
I got to be honest. I just take this thing to overtime. I mean, I thought Xavier Robinson was really coming on. I thought the drive before, when they went down and scored to tie it before they got the scoop and score, which was by far the most successful drive they had all game, which was interesting. Neither offense did anything all night except for at the end of the game. Really, they're both final two complete drives were the most successful. But when you go back and look at that 75-yard touchdown drive, most of it was on the back of Xavier Robinson. And obviously they got the trick play with Taylor Tatum was, the only offensive touchdown you were able to muster up all game. I just thought, given the way that drive went, it made a lot more sense. And even on first down of that drive before they fumble it, they got the pass interference, and then they got then they handed it to Xavier Robinson. And I thought at that point, I don't know about you, Plank, but they were just going to kind of settle for that.
Yep.
Like try to see if he could pop a run, but not put the ball in harm's way. Just don't lose it. And then he drops back, and as a good play, but I mean, all it was a 3-man rush with a linebacker, Tristan Newsome, spying. And as soon as Jackson Arnold stepped up, that backer closed the distance, and Jackson Arnold, it's okay to even take a sack there. Just don't give the ball up. And it's like risk reward. It's easy for me to say, but when you go back and you watch that play, no one is open down the field. He's going to try to check it down in the flat for maximum a 3-yard gain. That's the best thing that can happen. We saw what the worst thing that can happen is. So just like in that moment, situational football, risk reward, what are we doing there? So I'll tell you what else. Like one of the things, you hit the fake punt, which again, you want what'd you ask for? What's most alarming? The fact that in the first half and really in this game, your most successful pass play was a fake punt, and your second most successful pass play was your running back throwing it back to your quarterback. I mean, that's pretty alarming. But after they dial that up, they hit the fake punt to Bauer Sharp from Elzinga. You get a delay a game on first and goal from the 10. Like that's how you follow that play up with like a momentum, chance for a momentum changing scenario there. You're up 3-0, you hit that big play, chance to go up 10-0, which would, in that game, you knew points were not just going to be raining down from the clouds. Like that feels like a really nice lead. For them to get a delay a game, then a sack, then another sack, that one hurt playing. I don't know how you felt about it, but that was very poorly managed in that spot after, it just felt like that fake punt could be a massive game-changing type of play. And I don't know if it's alarming, but it's just disheartening. Like, and this defense has been through a lot this year. I'm not putting this game on the defense, but man, you had that game right there in your grasp, and you just need to get a stop. The inability to get a stop there at the end. And Jacoby Johnson, he fell down, but locate Luther Burden on 3rd and 16, right? Like, let's get a body on him. Let's find him. I mean, it's Luther Burden, and I know they did a pretty good job throughout the course of the game limiting him, but in the biggest moment, that biggest spot, for him to come open there on the sidelines the way that he did, that was just a really missed opportunity from a defense that's fought all year. But you got that scoop and score touchdown. You put yourself in a position to win that game. You were in position to win that game. And to allow that, really the only time all day that Missouri traveled the length of the field, that wasn't alarming, but it was disheartening that they couldn't get a stop in that moment.
I'll add this on it. It was a little bit disappointing because Brent was trying to get a timeout, and they didn't give it to him on that delay of game. But I also wonder too if they thought they were going to get. I know they thought they were going to get a reset of the play clock, and you didn't. It was a 4th down play. There wasn't it wasn't a change of possession. It was another down, and you don't get a reset after that. So that was frustrating. I will add to it, and again, everything you said is so spot on. There is nothing that can deflate you more than when you have a big play like that to have it followed up with 2 negative plays. And I'm talking about the fake punt. That's just a gut punch, man.
3 negative plays.
3,
when you count the
right.
penalty and then back-to-back sacks, like, gosh, just But I mean, give Missouri credit. I mean, they have been in 3 close, down to the wire, 1-score games in SEC play, and they're 3-0 in those games. Vanderbilt won that game in overtime, found a way. The Auburn game that I called that they really had no business winning, they found a way to win it.
Yep.
And then once again against Oklahoma on Saturday, that was a tough one. So in the post game, was that the most deflated
Yes.
you felt this team all season?
Yeah.
I would have expected so.
Yeah. Do you remember, maybe you tried to wash it, But you remember how uncomfortable our postgame was after the Camping World Bowl?
Oh, most uncomfortable. I mean, that was the game Josh Heupel was fired after. That was the most uncomfortable I remember doing that job with you, Teddy and Toby.
I wanted to start drinking, and unfortunately that was frowned upon. It's still frowned upon, by the way. I don't. But this one was just pure heartbreak. And I know some people were like, "Oh, it's your job." No, it was pure heartbreak. And I just wanted to sit there and like hug Coach and hug on the guys, but they're going to get that. They're fine. They're going to try to bounce back, but Coach was just, I mean, you just feel, because you know this isn't a situation where Brent Venables is kicking his feet up. He's living and dying on every single play, every single possession, and every single moment of prep, right? And I think my favorite moment from the main game, we did the coaches show, Dusty, and there's a play where Robert Spears-Jennings punches out the football, right? Oklahoma recovers it on the sidelines, and instead of being celebrating it, Brent Venables is in corrective mode. He's going after a guy that did something wrong in setting the edge. So this isn't a guy that is, just kicking. He's grinding, and I think it pains me because you know that this isn't from a lack of effort or a coach's lack of attention to detail, and that breaks my heart for him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. You got to take care of the football.
Got to take care of the football, man.
Got to take care of the Deion Burks fumble. That was costly. Obviously, none more costly than there at the end. What happened on the earlier fumble? He didn't lose it. Did Jackson on tape? Did he just drop it on that second drive? Or sorry, one of them I saw. He fumbled the ball on the first possession, right? The 3rd and 10.
Dropped it.
No one touched that, right?
Correct. He just lost the football.
Yep.
Again, you don't lose it because he jumped on top of it, but I don't know what's going on with him. And we saw the fumbles against Tennessee as part of why he was pulled when he was. Just ball security is so important. You've got to put the football away, and then he fumbles again on the second possession, and obviously there in that final possession. There was some interesting play calls too. Bauer Sharp on a jet sweep. I did not have that on my bingo card.
I don't think that was one that many people appreciated.
I was wondering too, and again, I don't know. I believe in that play. Jackson has the option to keep it, and if you go back and watch, if he doesn't give it, and because that backer's scraping over the top, running with the motion, I think, again, without knowing for sure, I think the proper read on that would have been a quarterback keep it. It looked like there was a decent hole there. So I don't know if that's something when they look back, if that was a misread by the quarterback, but boy, Bauer Sharp's a lot of things, but a guy that you're trying to utilize his speed on the perimeter, probably not one. So the 4th and 1 where they just got obliterated up front to start the second half. Mm-hmm. That was another one that was just, you start that drive right on Missouri territory, and you give them the ball back right there, and then give them a decent field position. They go down and score. That was another kind of point in that game where it was just and they had no shot at getting that 1 yard point. I mean, they did not do their job on that one. So that was it's tough, man. I don't know. I feel for everybody involved. I feel for staff. I feel for players. I feel for a fan base that is just wandering in the desert right now, looking for water.
We got a break. I see your text lining up. And I've got some playoff ranking questions for Dusty coming up right here on the Home of Sooner Fans.
Dusty Dvoracek here. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. We are the football experts. We're the home of Sooner fans. Download the KREF app and listen from anywhere.
All right, let's roll on with Dusty Dvoracek. Hey, what do you expect tonight? I don't know how much you and Danny got to talk about it this morning, but the playoff rankings. Is Georgia still going to be in there? Is Ole Miss going to slide in? I mean, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I've been singing that song.
Stuck in the middle with you, baby.
Have you seen Reservoir Dogs?
I have.
How great's that scene with that song playing?
I think about it every time we play that song. How could you not?
I think about it every time we get a haircut. You never know.
He's dancing around with that straight razor. Oh, what a great scene. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about things that make me happy.
Love it.
The college football playoff makes me happy. I can't wait. Tonight, what do I expect to happen? I think that you're going to have Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana all just slide up 2 spots.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to see much. I think it'll be Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana. I know the AP jumped Indiana ahead of Tennessee. I don't think that'll happen. It could. It wouldn't shock me. Michigan, Indiana should not apologize for beating Michigan, even though it wasn't by the 14 that they were projected to win by. That was only the second time they've beaten Michigan since 1987. Indiana should never apologize for beating Michigan. Plus, I thought they showed that they can win a close game late. So, they'd blown everyone else out. I think it's a better win than people are giving it credit. Is it enough to move them ahead of Tennessee? I don't think so, and I think that win against Bama only looks better for Tennessee with what Bama did. So I think that happens there. I think the real question kind of becomes, where does Alabama, where does Georgia, and then where does Miami slot in conjunction with Ole Miss? I think there's going to be 5 SEC teams in the top 12. I actually think Boise gets bumped out. And I kind of think that they're going to have and then where does BYU wind up? That's another one that I'm intrigued to see what happens there. So I think BYU likely kind of stays stagnant. I think Notre Dame does as well. And then I think you're going to have Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia in like a little log jam there. And I think Miami fits in right behind them. So, and then Boise gets kicked out of the top 12.
Which, by the way, will make everything's going to change a lot between now and the actual playoff, but it's going to reach a point to where one of those teams is going to get left out because of the 12th team being the Group of 4 conference, isn't it? Group of 5.
Group 5. Yeah. Yes, it will, and that's what'll be interesting because it feels to me like if you're the Big Ten, you feel really good about getting 4 teams in. Like the Big Ten tonight. They're going to have 4 teams in the top 6.
Yep.
And, who knows? Upsets happen in college football, but we are trending toward an 11-1 Penn State. If, Indiana, Ohio State's next week. If Indiana beats if Ohio State beats Indiana, which I think most people think they will, and as long as it's not an embarrassment, that's going to set up for Indiana and Penn State to both be firmly, I think, inside the top 12, as well as Oregon, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. So it feels like 4 are going to get in, and we'll see what happens Tennessee, Georgia this week. But Georgia's a 10-point favorite. If we go off that logic, the logjam at 2-loss teams is going to be wild. Somebody, one of those 2-loss teams is going to get left out in the cold, and it's going to make for some great debate, a lot of good theater. The big losers, I think, right now are the ACC and the Big 12. I just think that I have a hard time buying that now with Miami losing, and even though BYU won, and I don't want to knock them for winning,
right.
I just don't know how much the committee's going to value it. I will be surprised at this point if either of those 2 conferences get multiple teams in the playoff.
I would agree. All right, let's take a couple texts for you here on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. I'll start, Josh. Scuba Steve writes, Dusty gets to see a lot of ball. So who does he think the new offensive coordinator should be? Do we want to start this game already? Or we got a lot of time coming up in the offseason for it?
Well, we do. We really don't, because this hire, I would have to imagine, is going to happen and happen quick.
Yeah, it's true.
The one thing that's going to – and here's another part that I don't know how it all impacts. If you don't make a bowl game, right, it's going to allow you to do more recruiting. It's going to allow you to spend more time, really having everything ready for your transfer portal, with your roster, what's coming back, what you need to address, and all that. but you also got to get your staff in place for those things to happen. So I think that it won't be an off season. It's going to be happening really, really quickly. And then the question becomes, if you're targeting coaches on another staff and now at the extended playoff, how does that all work? And I don't have the answers. Like if you're, and that you need to get somebody in place for transfer portal when it opens and for, that signing period in December. And, if it's offensive players or, whatever, even retaining your own players. Like if they want to be sold on who's the coach going to be, if it's a coach that's, now making a run in the playoff, before, after championship Sunday, or championship Saturday, then there was this, even if you were in the playoff where there was this long hold period, season was over, you could interview and hire someone for a spot, and then they may even stick around and stay and coach the game and then come back, but they could kind of multitask, right? They could dual purpose. They could recruit and still coach. I guess you could do the same, but that playoff is going to be in December. And so it's just, I don't know how it all works, but I think you got to get somebody in place very, very quickly because I think that it's paramount from a recruiting standpoint, both high school kids as well as the portal, that someone is there to sell a future. Who are those people? I've mentioned to you some names. And again, I've thrown Dan Mullen out. I have no clue at all if he would be interested in a coordinator spot. It may only be a head coaching spot. He may just say, you know what? I want to just be a talking head on ESPN and not deal with all the craziness. I don't know. But that would obviously be a guy that I would make him say no to me.
Right.
I also think this, and I'm just going to wonder aloud, how appealing is this job? And are you going to have to massively overpay to go get somebody? Like I've heard people say Will Stein at Oregon. Is Will Stein going to leave Oregon to come to Oklahoma right now? I have a hard time buying that. So what's realistic? I know Shanahan in Indiana is a guy that I think you'd probably definitely take a look at and has garnered a lot of respect. Do you want somebody who's got experience in the SEC? How important is that? Somebody that's navigated those very rough waters. I don't have a long list that I've written out and gone through just yet, but I would have to think that Brent Venables does and has, and I think that process probably begins pretty quickly.
The Waffler. I want to know who Dusty thinks the best team is in football right now. Who do you think is going to win the national championship?
I picked Ohio State before the season to win the national title, and I know Oregon beat them head-to-head on a neutral field, and Oregon deserves to be number one in the country, but I'm going to stick with my pick and say I think Ohio State's going to win the national championship. That game was at Autzen. It came down to the final possession, the final touch, and, really, Ohio State just ran out of time. Will Howard, that game ends with Will Howard, the ball in his hands, and there's just no more time on the clock. They're 10 yards away from field goal range. I think we're trending towards a rematch in the Big Ten championship. And though they sit number 2 and they should behind Oregon, I still think Ohio State is, if you ask me right now, I'm sticking with my original pick, and I got the Buckeyes. I think Will Howard's played really well this year, guys. I don't think that he's gotten probably enough credit. Going into the year, you thought, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, they're going to rely so much on this rushing attack, and Will Howard's just going to get out of the way. They've had to rely on Will Howard this year.
Yeah.
He's completing 74% of his passes. He's got 22 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I think he's been really, really good for this team. 28 total touchdowns, so I'm going to stick with the Buckeyes.
I really like them. And of course I work with Bobby Carpenter a lot, so I'm required to like them. But I like them as a complete team. All right, this one's a little bit tough. All right, I'm going to read one more text. Okay. Boomer Bubba. He writes, are our coaches too arrogant to make changes needed? They have stuck with Jackson Arnold, even though he has not improved from the bowl game. Their offense is so predictable. Run on first down, run on second down, and pass on third down. And run right up the middle on fourth down. Unless you are behind in the fourth quarter, then it's pass, get the ball to Sharp. If they gave Hawkins the time they gave Jackson Arnold, we might have a good quarterback by now. And before you talk turnovers, how many turnovers has Jackson Arnold had going back to the bowl game? Well, let's also remember, I mean, Hawkins is a true freshman. I mean, he is straight out of high school, and he left high school early to come here at semester. So just giving that caveat, I don't think it's a matter of being arrogant. I think it's a matter of trying to, Dusty, attack where they feel like their strengths are.
Yeah, well, look, I hear what the texter is saying. They pulled Jackson Arnold.
That's right.
I mean, they made a move. They made a move that I'm going to just tell you nationally, a lot of people were highly critical of.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people like, what is Oklahoma? I was getting texts from a lot of people like, what is Oklahoma doing? Why are they doing this? And I thought it was justified at the time to make that move to Michael Hawkins. He came in. He had a good second half against Tennessee, right? He had those couple big splash plays against Auburn, the run on the opening possession, the big throw there late in the game, and they got that win. That was great. He was overwhelmed against Texas, clearly. And then the South Carolina game, I think you had to make a move when you did. It felt like that was needed at the time. I think at this point, I mean, it would not surprise me what they do, which route they go. But I just think that's unfair. They made a big move. That was not easy to pull Jackson Arnold in that Tennessee game. I mean, it was not. So he had 3 starts under his belt, and I think it's safe to say they didn't feel that the offense was headed in the right direction, and the turnovers were so prominent there against South Carolina. They went back to Jackson Arnold, and look, I thought Jackson played a good first half against Ole Miss.
I did too.
I don't think it was terrible. I know it was Maine, but that wasn't a bad performance by him. He just made his 3rd straight start again, and look, the struggles were very real at Missouri. There's no doubt. And I think that he's, even times when there was a pocket, he's getting out of the pocket too soon, and obviously the protecting of the football, and I just seeing stuff downfield. I don't know if he's always seeing it. I don't want to dogpile. I do have a quick question I didn't even mention earlier.
Go ahead.
At the end of the game, even after they get the scoop and score, a little 5-yard pass to Deion Burks.
What are we doing?
And then how about after, I think they took a deep shot to Brennan Thompson, and then they throw a pass at the line of scrimmage to Bauer Sharp with 7 seconds left? Like, what? That was just like, huh? What? I don't know. So I apologize. I'm not avoiding the question. I think the reality is there's not a good answer either place right now. And it's not solely the quarterback's fault. They're not good enough around him anywhere. And that's unfortunate for everybody involved. But clearly, you've got to be able to take care of the football. I don't know what to expect coming off this bye. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Jackson Arnold again. It would not surprise me at all if we saw Michael Hawkins, and I wouldn't rule out potentially seeing both.
I wouldn't rule out anything right now when it comes to the offense. Anything at all. Dusty, you're the man. We'll talk more about the playoff rankings tomorrow and the fun of a bye week. So enjoy the night, man. And congrats to your son, too. That's just awesome.
Hey, thanks, Blank. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.
I see you, brother.